pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue. That's the Chicago.
Hey, Chicago, I've got a question for you. I tweeted it this morning, and I'm asking you now. Is Chicago ready for a wet mayor? I want you to call in 591-8900. We'll be taking your calls at 518 with Mr. Bill Cameron. He remembers that. We have the big Willie Wilson controversy. But does anyone remember that we needed a wet mayor? Good morning, Lauren Cohn.
Good morning, John Cass. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
We made it to this the end of the week.
And I'm all wet, and I'm kind of white, and ready for politics.
Are you
I'm
a whitey?
Yeah, I'm kind of. Greeks became white in 1968 in Chicago. I think the day Jackie Kennedy married Aristotle Onassis, we were officially white that day. Was that naughty? So let me ask you this. On the front page, I see a story. Measles outbreak. What is going on?
I saw this yesterday and I was so upset because we have this case of 5 infants who attend a suburban daycare center diagnosed with the measles, which is highly infectious disease. The outbreak apparently at the Kinder Care Learning Center in Palatine, marking the second appearance of measles in Illinois. Measles it spreads so quickly, and you can sneeze in an elevator and spread it. And you can have it 4 days before the rash appears, so you only show symptoms of a cold. And in this ongoing debate, and we've been covering this, I'm thinking to myself, John, what is going on with people? Clearly, people are not vaccinating, and they are exposing infants exposed here, which is so incredibly dangerous. Why is it that a parent is told they can't send a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to school because it could hurt other kids who have major allergies, but we can send kids who aren't vaccinated for something like the measles? Well,
you can't vaccinate. It's a good point, but you can't vaccinate your kids against a peanut butter allergy. If they have it, they have it, right? There's no but with measles, you can have a vaccination. So the question is, why do people send their kids to school that aren't vaccinated? I mean, I don't think, tell me if I'm wrong, is the science that if my child is vaccinated against measles, are they susceptible to measles after that?
Well, they do say that that you can get measles again, but it's really slim.
Right. So if they're vaccinated against measles, right? The only people that are hurting themselves are the people that won't vaccinate their children.
Well, the problem is, though, these children can't get that measles shot until they're 1 year old.
No, they're too young to get them, and that's the whole thing.
So then we got another story here.
Well, this is the problem. If people are not vaccinating their children and people are going unvaccinated and then they're out there in the population, they can infect others. And so when you have babies that are at risk...
Well, no, if the child then is not able to be vaccinated early, right? Is that the issue?
Yeah,
right?
those are babies.
First shot comes around 1, and then my son's going to get a booster.
So then why do people take their children to daycare before they're completely vaccinated? That's the issue. The issue is, why would you dare bring your kid to an environment where they could get deathly sick? Did I miss something here? Tell me, Ryan, Lauren. What am I missing?
People got to get back to work.
Oh, okay, that's it. I want to get back to work. But if you're worried about your kid, do you take the kid into a place that it's like I have to cross the street. Do I push that stroller across the street while I'm on the phone first? Because I know that the car's going to stop at the red light. You tell me.
But the problem is that we have more and more people now who aren't vaccinating their kids and are spreading this. There's no reason we should even have measles. We have a vaccination, right? I mean, we don't have polio anymore, right?
That's another story.
So, we don't need to have this happening. We don't need to have these outbreaks in California. We don't need to have them at the Super Bowl suddenly on high alert because they think people are going to be infected going into the Super Bowl. We don't need to suddenly have these outbreaks in 14 states across the country where we don't know where to go because we don't know if there's somebody in the general population who's walking around with this and spreading it. That's part of the problem. Marvin, good morning. You're on 89 WLS.
Good morning. Yeah, I was wondering too about vaccinations, but I learned over the last few days if a kid has a low immune system for whatever reason, the flu or maybe chemo or something else, and they had been vaccinated, they are susceptible. They can get the measles and other diseases they've been vaccinated against. So these people do need to get their killed children should not be allowed in public arenas. I mean, it's a public risk. Just because you've been vaccinated doesn't make you safe against these things. So these folks who refuse to vaccinate their children for whatever reason, if there are no laws, well, then perhaps they need to be jailed if they do bring their child into a public arena knowingly that their child is carrying measles, whatever it is. But
what if they're not carrying measles? What if they're not carrying measles and they just, I want to take my kid to daycare because I want to go to work, or I just want to be able to have my own time or reach my own self-awareness or whatever, and I want to drop the kid off and it's not vaccinated? Isn't this measles story really political cover for that other issue? Marvin, Lauren, Ryan, that people want to take their kids to daycare even before they're vaccinated.
Well, perhaps maybe that's the next step, is that they'll figure out a way to regulate that. But, I mean, the fact is that this gets back to folks who refuse to inoculate their children. I mean, what's going on? I mean, we had eradicated that disease, and now all of a sudden it's creeping in because soccer moms and religious nuts are banded together in their opposition to this. I don't understand what's going on.
Thank you, Marvin. It's a great call. Appreciate it. There's a lot of legs to this story. There's a lot of legs. Sandra, welcome to the show. What do you think?
Well, I just think the argument that you should keep your kids home, if they're not vaccinated until they're vaccinated, is ridiculous, because you brought up earlier, if your kid's allergic to peanut butter, what are you going to do?
Right.
Keep them at home all the time? I mean, there's something about the village helping the village and common sense and caring for your other human being.
I agree, but sometimes people don't have that common sense. That's a great call, Sandra. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra. Well, and that's the problem here, is that this is a growing issue, and people don't want to, give their kids the vaccine. You don't want to give your kid the vaccine. You have the right to keep your kid at home.
Yeah, you do. But that's the point. When you can't give the kid the vaccine, say they're too young, do you bring them to daycare? We should talk about this again next week.
Well, I wouldn't want to now. If I suddenly had a baby and this is out there and it's a risk, I would be really nervous about bringing my baby anywhere. But if I had to go to work and then you have to hire someone to come into the home, parents are struggling out there. This is really tough.
Hey, you know what? I got a text from 312. John, will you please explain what you mean by Chicago needs a wet mayor? And you know what? I think we should explain it with Bill Cameron, who's going to be on it right with us.
He's going to be on coming up at 9:18. Let's take a quick call from David. David, welcome to the show.
Yeah, if we look for a common thread, so there's many legs to the story. I think another two legs are that a year ago and 9 months ago, there were no breakouts anywhere in the country. But what I have noticed is that since we let in, 90,000 kids from South America, now we have the outbreaks all over the place. And my question is this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't see the Center of Disease Control, the U.S. Army doctors, or immigration doctors check these 90,000 kids to see what they had when they came in here. And I'm going to think that they came in unscreened. They were scattered around the country, and maybe this is also a component. We've had several outbreaks of strange diseases that we thought were eradicated, and it started in the last 6 months.
Well, it's something to look into, David. It certainly is a good point. Appreciate the call. We all got up in arms, John, about Ebola. Measles is way more contagious than Ebola. We're all freaking out about Ebola.
But less deadly. Right?
Well, measles can be deadly, though.
Well, it can be deadly, but,
all right.
Flu can be deadly.
Coming up, we're going to dissect the mayoral race with WLS's Bill Cameron.